The floods in the Texas Hills country over the 4th of July holiday. It is a cornucopia of, of calamity. It involves tourists, families, children. It involves a holiday that now will be remembered and always attached to those families, tourists, and tragedy. Over 100 people found dead so far, with many more unaccounted for. And yet, through all this, arrogant a-holes still find a way to bring in politics. Sadly, let's talk about it. I am here located in Dallas, and Dallas had its own flooding as well during the holiday storms. Areas I had no idea were flooding. Some of our um, attached cities that make up the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. I really had no idea that people turned this political. Since it happened, I had been following the tragedy itself, how many they found, how many they saved, how many were still lost. I was focused on the human aspect of it, but I forgot, I know somewhere somebody said this: never let a good tragedy go to waste. Damn. Now that I think about it, I say this time, like it normally is, it's coming from the left. If you're new to the channel, if you're a new subscriber, then let me repeat to you what it is. I am a political independent, a a political free agent. I give no blind devotion to any side. I will vote for whatever candidate, whatever policy best fits with me.
Absolutely.
So I don't give a damn if you're red, blue, pink, or purple.
I don't play this game.
I don't play that game. But sadly, in this time of mourning and sorrow, there are people that do.
You're garbage, human garbage.
One of the last recordings Frosty and I did, we talked about that incident. I think it was in Philadelphia. I know it was in the Northeast where that plane hit the helicopter. And though admittedly I voted for Trump, he had a very unproud moment for me. He had a moment that irritated me, a moment that pissed me off. It was a few short hours after it that Trump got on TV and was talking about DEI hiring led to this tragedy. He didn't know that. We were still trying to figure out and piece together what the hell happened. And he's on TV talking about DEI.
Come on, man. What are we talking about?
And at that time, I was pissed because I'm thinking to myself, I could be quite empathetic. And I thought to myself, if it was my family that was lost in that accident with the plane and the helicopter, if it were my family, do you know the last thing I give a damn about? DEI hiring. At that moment, I don't give a damn about it. Let's get down the line. Let me get through my mourning. Let me get through my hurt and my anger. We'll figure out the reasons why. This incident here is just the same. There's back and forth. What hit me last night hit me out of the clear blue. It was a Facebook post I saw that said the families of the flood victims should sue Abbott or Trump.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
And I thought, why? And in that post, they said because it was their policies that caused the loss of life.
What the hell are you talking about?
I could have sworn it was the water, but okay. This individual and I, we went back and forth for a while because, again, I had no idea what they were talking about. And then that's when I took it upon myself to go investigate what the hell was going on. And that's when I learned that Donald Trump, um, through Doge, had made cuts to the National Weather Service.
I.
There it is.
Ah, that's the connection. Apparently, according to this individual, a National Weather Service budget cut can affect floodwaters to such a degree it kills over 100 people. Let's say that out loud again. A national budget cut that happened in DC can have such an effect 100+ people can die in a flood in Texas.
You serious?
If that sounded stupid to you, that's because it is. Yes, Donald Trump did make cuts to the National Weather Service. Do y'all know when those cuts take place? October. Those cuts don't go into effect until October of this year. So now let me say it to you. DC budget cuts that the Trump administration made to the National Weather Service that don't take place until October caused the loss of life in a flood in Texas in July.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
That math ain't mathing. The individual and I on Facebook, we went back and forth for a while. And I hit him with the same thing. I said, and this is before, because I just recently, today, this morning, this Tuesday morning, found out that the budget cuts don't kick in until October. So Monday night, when he and I were having this conversation, I'm shooting just logic off the hip. Because as I'm trying to explain to this individual who accused me of listening to the news too much, like how is he getting his information, right? That makes no sense, because the timeline, even from outside independent sources and former National Weather Service employees even said they did the best they could do. There was no way that this storm was predicted. They knew it was a storm. They gave out all the reasonable warnings. As a matter of fact, instead of me explaining this, let's go to a news source. Now, y'all know how I feel about most media. If you don't, I trust none of these asses. But what I like to do a lot of times is I like to go to the more liberal leaning media to see what they say about it, to see if they actually are on the condemn them all train. And here's what I found. From the New York Post, Dems try blaming Trump for Texas flood death toll, but weather alert timeline and even experts critical of prayers debunked the claim. Let me do that part again. But the weather alert timeline and even experts critical of prayers debunk claims.
Aha!
So people that don't even like Trump are even saying, yeah, this is a bunch of bullshit. It says the finger pointing has already begun after the Texas floods, with some Dems blaming Trump budget cuts aimed at the National Weather Service for the catastrophic death toll. Yet even experts who are administration critics say they weren't a factor. Now, I am getting this. If y'all don't know, the Post and the Times, yeah, they're not the biggest Trump fans. And like most media, 80% of the media leans liberal. So if they are telling y'all, this is one of those things that lets me know that y'all have been so embedded with hatred, infused with hatred, taught and bred hatred, which y'all liberals and minorities are supposed to hate hatred, that even when it's presented to you, you still don't want to believe. It continues. Foes of President Trump are claiming budget cuts by the White House hampered the Federal Weather Agency's ability to issue life-saving warnings in time. But reviews by experts The NWS's own timeline of the steadily escalating warnings the federal agency issued before the flood disaster hit, and the fact that your budget cuts aren't supposed to take effect until August 1st have debunked the assertion.
Wow. Wow.
It is very, very disappointing. It really is. It is sad that we put politics over people, that we put blame ahead of bereavement, that we are looking at faults instead of fixes.
Preach!
This has to stop. It really, really, really has to stop. When the guy I was talking to, whom I mentioned, I already said that I'm listening to the news and not what's going on, which again, I find hilarious because he only gets his stuff from a very biased news source. He said that, well, the mayor of Kerrville, where the majority of the damage was done, where it seems like the most loss of life occurred. He said the mayor of that town said that they did not get the warnings, or they did not get the warnings in time. He asked me, he goes, Tuck, why would that man lie about that?
Seriously? Seriously?
And I said, you answer that in your original post, because in your post, you call for the governor of Texas and the president of the United States to be sued. So I'm not saying he did or he didn't, but you're asking why would he lie for the same things you just posted? Because if it is found out that he ignored or did not respond in a significant enough way, then he can be held liable. I use the example of something else that happened in Texas that was a major tragedy, and that was the Uvalde Elementary School shooting. I clearly remember there were 3 or 4 different stories out about why that wasn't suppressed faster and in a more efficient way. You got, oh, they couldn't get inside the building. Oh, well, the room he was in, they couldn't get in, so they were waiting on a key. And then that video came out, showed them in the hallway, just waiting, standing there, afraid to go confront a man that was literally killing children. But before the video came out, it was everybody else's fault. Oh, we did the best we could. And then he said, the guy I'm referring to, the guy on Facebook, then he said it's that MAGA loving Abbott.
What the hell is even that?
Now look, I'm not a fan of our governor here in Texas, Greg Abbott, because he was a shit attorney general.
True that. True that.
I had the most issues in the world out of Greg Abbott's Texas Attorney General's office. Trust me, 10 years in court, I had the most shit from that man's office. I don't think I'll ever be a fan of his. But I also am a fair person. If you don't get the blame, you don't get the blame. And I asked him, what does him being MAGA, and this was the last comment I asked because I put it in such a way. I said, what does him being MAGA have to do with anything?
Good question.
Like, does MAGA instantly make you retarded or careless or incompassionate?
Don't worry, I'll wait.
Because I used somebody that was the complete opposite end of MAGA. I used Gavin Newsom, California governor. Do y'all remember the superb way he handled the wildfires in the Hollywood Hills? And I told him, that man lied to a woman that lost it all in that fire live on TV.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now.
Do you not think that a mayor would lie to save his own ass?
Well, duh.
Again, I'm not saying that mayor is lying. I am responding to his question, why would he lie? To save his own ass. As a matter of fact, I'll share with you the article I found on that. Weather warnings gave officials a 3-hour, 21-minute window to save lives in Kerr County. What happened then remains unclear. 3 hours and 21 minutes. That's how much time passed from when the National Weather Service sent out its first flash flood warning for part of Kerr County to when the first flooding reports came in from low-lying water crossings. The Weather Service says the first warning triggered one of many automatic alerts to cell phones and weather radios telling people in the area of danger. But if any local officials got those warnings, and if so, whether they activated in any meaningful way in that 3 hours and 24 minutes remains a black box. As you can see here, county officials have not responded to requests for interviews and have not said at public press conferences what efforts they took when the flooding threat turned from possible to imminent in the middle of the night. Skipping down here, it says, quoting Greg Abbott here, "We knew there was a flash flood warning. No one would know that would be a 30-foot high tsunami ball of water." As callous as this sounds, it needs to be said. Sometimes shit happens. 2023, to give an example of shit happening, was an extremely down and dark period in my life. And it all started with me getting hit in less than 24 hours, getting hit in 2 separate vehicles that I owned in such a major way that both those vehicles were totaled. I had no way to get around. I had no way to work. I had no way to take care of my family. Sometimes shit just happens, because what are the odds of a man getting into 2 separate wrecks in 24 hours, totaling out both vehicles? Not his fault. What are the odds? So I understand when things go wrong, you look for people to blame, especially when you have a loss of life on this level with as many children that have been taken from us. NWS officials said they communicated directly with local officials during the night of the floods, but did not specify when. In some cases, they said calls went to voicemail. Kerrville's mayor said he was unaware of the flooding until 5:30 a.m., more than 4 hours after the first warning, when the city manager called and woke him up. Weather experts say that, from the outside at least, weather service forecasters appear to have done most everything right as the river rose with astonishing speed, blew past its previous record level, and blasted through summer camps, RV parks, homes, and campgrounds. It's the kind of situation that meteorologists warn trainees about. The sort of nightmare scenario some refer to as a silent killer. A holiday weekend that brings out-of-town visitors to an area known as Flash Flood Alley. All I'm saying is this. It is ridiculous, though somewhat understandable, to play politics here, because you need something to blame. You need someone to blame. People act like acts of God just don't happen. Things can get out of control very fast, particularly here in Texas, because you can literally have clear skies 1 hour and an absolute thunderstorm the next. That is not an exaggeration. That is a fact.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
Welcome to Texas. The point being, people, let's put down the politics. Let's stop pointing the fingers. Let us come together, support one another, pray for one another, lift each other up, and find ways to make sure that no one else has to go through this again as much as we possibly can. That's the moral of this story. Politics, no. It's people over politics. It's fixes over finger pointing. It's grief over government. That's all I have to say on this edition of Free Mind Thinkers. You know what to do. If you like what you heard, please hit that like button. If you like it and you would like to hear more, hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell, and you will be notified every single time that we have something else to upload. Also, and most importantly, I ask that you comment, share me out there, put me out there, love me or hate me, agree or disagree. Let's get a conversation going, because I love to talk. As always, from Free Mind Thinkers, telling you, reminding you to stand up, stand out, think different. And until the next time, I'll holla.